Oh, there
that
we
the
are.
British state has
Hang on
found
a
the
sec. I got
British
it. I got
state.
it. I got it. I got it. Yay! We're here. We're live. It is. It's election day in Ireland. This is MOTH News, obviously. My name is Keith Walsh. And it's election day in Ireland. Polling stations open at 7 a.m. as voters choose the next president of Ireland. Ole, 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 and all that. Independent TD Catherine Connolly goes into the day ahead in most polls, with Fine Gael's Heather Humphreys chasing closely behind. And when we say chasing, she's jogging backwards. Whoever wins, it's shaping up to be one of the most consequential elections since the last election. Mary Robinson's in 1990 obviously was a big one when the country last redefined what a president could be. But I don't think whoever wins, I don't think Catherine Connolly, who may or may not win, is going to redefine what an Irish president is. Although I suppose with Michael D. Higgins, he sort of redefined it. And the thing about it is, everyone does it differently. Before we look ahead, let's look back. A quick guide to what being president of Ireland actually means. Here is a quick guide to the presidents of Ireland. We kicked it all off with a fella called Douglas Hyde. He was a scholar who helped found the Irish language movement. Then we let's talk about Mary Robinson, who modernized the presidency. And of course, Miggledy, the poet, the activist, and possibly the only world leader who can recite Heaney from memory. He loves his poetry. The president is head of state, not the head of government. They don't run the country, they represent it. Their power, they're limited, but they're important. The limited powers they have are important. They sign laws, they appoint the Taoiseach, they can send a bill to the Supreme Court if it looks unconstitutional. They rarely do. They can refuse to dissolve the Dáil in rare cases, or grant a pardon. Not refuse to grant a pardon. They can grant a pardon, although that's seldom used. Maybe we should start granting pardons, and maybe you could pardon me for that parking ticket I got 2 years ago. Mostly the president embodies the nation's conscience, the moral tone of who we are. Mary Robinson made it about human rights. McAleese made it about reconciliation. Michael D made it about equality, culture, and compassion. So whoever takes the role next will inherit the same responsibility to reflect the Irish people and not just the Irish state, and not necessarily their personality either, but that is a big how they choose to be plays a big part. And that's why it's important that words matter. So when asked why she voted to seal the mother and baby homes archive for 30 years, she wasn't the only one, but she was one of them. The other candidate, Heather Humphreys, said, "It doesn't really matter now at this stage." She might find out on Sunday when the votes are counted just how much these things do matter to the Irish people. Anyway, if you are going out and voting, do go out and vote. Do whatever you want. Spoil your vote. Vote for somebody. I don't care, but do something. Voting is open till 10 p.m. tonight, and counting begins tomorrow. Should have a result on Sunday. Turnout and transfer patterns will be crucial, especially if, as expected, no candidate crosses the 50% mark on first preference. Yeah, maybe. We'll probably have a fair idea by the end of today, early Saturday, I'd say, what's going to happen. Moving on to the IPAS Centre violence. Gardaí are investigating a violent incident outside the International Protection Accommodation Service Centre in City West Dublin earlier this week. It began after a 26-year-old man was charged with the alleged sexual assault of a 10-year-old girl on the grounds of the centre. A small protest formed outside, but by evening it had swelled to hundreds, reportedly organised through social media. The situation escalated. Bottles, bricks and fireworks were thrown at Gardaí. A van was set alight and riot units were deployed. One staff member and 2 residents suffered minor injuries. Officials say the alleged assault may have been used as a catalyst for wider mobilisation, with extremist agitators exploiting local anger. Isn't that the way? Our Taoiseach Micheál Martin condemned the violence, saying no one should be targeted for seeking refuge. Yeah, well, do your job better. Maybe these things wouldn't happen. Gardaí are monitoring online activity and expect further arrests. Here's what one of our regular contributors, Politicori, Corey is his name, had to say about Ireland's broken asylum system. Politicori has been on with us before, and this is just something he put up on TikTok, and I thought it might be worth playing.
There has to be some sort of acknowledgement and accountability here.
for a system that allows people, I think he was in the country for 6 years as an asylum seeker, gets his deportation order in March of 2025 and is still here. What is the level of knowledge that we have of people in this situation? How are people spending 6 years in the asylum system in this country, and then when they're denied and they're to be deported, they aren't deported, they're still here? That is something that needs to be addressed head on. The asylum seeker process is extremely broken in this country.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The person, the man responsible for the assault had been here for 6 years seeking asylum, then should have been deported. 2025, it was decided that he should be deported. He wasn't appealing, there was no whatever, and then he attacked that young girl, which is absolutely horrendous and terrible. And this is the issue, because now we've got a situation where the far right are saying, you see, we told you so. These people are coming over here and our women and our children are in danger. So it's proving them right. But we also have to remember that he should have been gone, and anybody that breaks the law should feel the full force of the law, especially when it comes to attacking women and children in this country. It doesn't matter where they're from. So to tar everybody with the same brush, to attack an IPAS center, to say that all immigrants are the same, as it were, is nonsensical. It's not helpful. But the government, in this case, are not helping anybody by not having a better asylum system for everybody. Because remember, folks, this is a class situation, okay? And the people with the money are happy if the people without the money and without the resources are fighting amongst themselves. That keeps them happy, because they don't have to worry about stuff. They don't have to worry about us, you know. Bread and circuses, basically, if you know what that means. So moving on, I don't know if you've been following the Soldier F verdict. I'm going to talk to Oscar briefly about this in a sec. Soldier F judgment has reopened old wounds in Derry and reignited debate about accountability for Troubles-era killings. Sinn Féin MP John Finucane, whose father Pat Finucane was murdered by loyalists in 1989, spoke after the ruling. I'll tell you more about this if you're
I think it's also worth remembering exactly who Soldier F is. The Savile inquiry, having sat for and deliberated on evidence for 12 years, came to unequivocal conclusions that Soldier F was in the bogside at that time. He fired multiple rounds, he targeted unarmed civilians, and he was responsible for multiple fatal shootings. The Bloody Sunday families are held in the highest of regards. I think their reputations have only been enhanced as years have went on, whereas the reputations of the British military, the murders that took place in Derry and elsewhere in Ireland, I think that will be a permanent stain. And it's a stain that was reflected by the judge in his judgment today as well.
So there you go. That is Sinn Féin's John Finucane talking about that judgment. I'm just going to play this first, Oscar, and then I'll come to you. This is from Gemma, who is a contributor to the show, and she's now a journalist, former journalist, and now fiction writer. She has worked with The Guardian and Amnesty International covering human rights and conflict. So just that's, I mean, she, on TikTok, she's Goodwill Hunting. C instead of the H, yeah?
See you next Tuesday.
Yes, Goodwill. See you next Tuesday. So let me just see if I can find that clip. I don't know why it's not showing up here. I think this must be it. So this is Gemma.
That the British state has found the British state not guilty of state violence is probably not going to be a shock to a lot of people from the north, unfortunately. These families have been campaigning for over 50 years for justice for what happened to their family members on Bloody Sunday. And the outcome yesterday is a complete and utter miscarriage of justice. But like I say, it's not a great surprise. I grew up in the north of Ireland. In particular, I grew up in a very loyalist, very unionist, very Protestant town. And I went to a very unionist Protestant school. And in that school, we were taught about the Troubles. We were taught history. And we were taught history from a unionist point of view. I was taught about Bloody Sunday, and I was told by my teachers in school and by my textbooks that there was aggravation on both sides, and we had to do exercises, writing tasks where we were talking about who shot first. Fortunately, the house I grew up in, we talked about these sorts of things and we talked about politics, and I knew kind of the truth of the matter. But it's important to note that the British state in the north of Ireland relies on and requires that unionists and loyalists blindly believe and regurgitate their state agenda. You don't have to be a diehard Irish Republican to know that civilians should not be shot when partaking in peaceful protests. And while the outcome of the Soldier F trial is devastating for the families involved, it should remind us in the north and right across the island of Ireland of the importance of pushing for Irish unity. We as citizens of the north have grown up under and are still subjected to British rule. British rule in the north of Ireland doesn't benefit anyone, least of all the loyalists who are being weaponised and turned against their own people, their neighbours, in order to maintain British colonial rule.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much for that, Gemma. Oscar, as a young man who went to school in England, this is all? I mean, you've just started working for us. What are you with? 6 weeks, maybe? Not even a month. I don't know.
Maybe
Who's
3
counting?
weeks.
Who's counting? Time flies when you're having fun, man.
Yeah.
So what? I mean, this is all new to you. Is it the Troubles? Like the unionist nationalist divide? Soldier F, I suppose you'd be kind of looking at these stories going, what? I don't know where to start with these things.
Yeah. So
what did you learn in school?
So in school, all we kind of really learned about was like maybe like a brief period of being like, yes, the Troubles happened, but we don't ever go in depth into. I'm pretty sure I know more about ancient Greece, ancient Rome, ancient Egypt, and like World War I and World War II than I do about the Troubles.
Yeah, and some people might
education.
say, I would say some people might say that the Unionists are relics of the past, but carry on.
Yeah, like, so even when you're saying unionists, to me, I'm just guessing here, that's people who want to like seek the unification of Ireland with the United Kingdom or no?
Yeah, so unionists would say they're loyalists or unionists. So they want the union, the United Kingdom. They want to be part of that. They're loyal to the crown.
Yeah.
So they're loyal to Britain or to the kingdom, as it were. So they're loyalists and unionists, and they're generally Protestants / Presbyterian, Church of England, Church of Ireland. And then on my side, because I'm in charge of the other side, we got the nationalists who want a united Ireland, which you'd understand. And we are mostly Catholic, but most of us are lapsed Catholics at this stage. But, you know, we're tired as Catholics. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so we don't go in that level of depth at all in school. Like, as I was saying to you before the show, like the like main education system in the UK, at least to my understanding, having gone through it, is like 1066, Great Fire of London, Tudors, Vikings, and this whole thing about it's great that the United Kingdom was a colonial power, and it's great that we were sending like soldiers over during the Crusades, during like to India, etc.
You were going out civilizing these uncivilized people.
Yes, that's
teaching them how to speak and how to use tablecloths and utensils with their food.
Yes,
but they, savages.
Yeah. But they don't really tell us. You have to do a little bit of more reading, or not even like just a cursory Google search to see that the so-called like Great British Empire actually damaged hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people's lives, and took it from them.
I mean, it's not surprising when you look at immigration and you look at the amount of people who want to live in England. Like, if you go and, you know, attack another country and colonize it, don't be surprised if they follow you home.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because if you're going over going, hey, we're here to civilize you, we're great, we're like, don't be surprised if people believe you and then want to come back home with you. Do you know what I mean?
And I think the real
it's like finding it, you know, it's like finding a child or something on the street who's like suddenly you've killed their parents and they're orphans and they're like, well, you're my daddy now, England.
Yeah, I think it'd be great if like the people that we had affected were able to freely immigrate into the United Kingdom, into Ireland, wherever. But sadly, as we've seen, immigration isn't something that this country really likes.
Yeah. I mean, look, nobody's saying that, say, for instance, like there was slavery in Africa amongst Africans. You know, the pygmies were always sort of they were smaller, so they were always like used and abused, for want of a better term, by the next more powerful tribe. You know, these things went on everywhere, but it's just the fact that you know, it was just it's how you're like I just feel like the world will be a better place, and Ireland is the same. We do a lot of denying about our history as well, and it's not just the Brits and what the Brits done to us and how terrible that was. We did terrible things to ourselves as well. I think ultimately it's, let's be honest about it, let's learn about it, And there's that whole thing about, you know, we need to learn about our past so we don't make the same mistakes in the future. I'm sure there's a better way of saying that quote, but I can't think of it right now. So is the mistakes of the past inform our future? I don't know. So like, I think the thing is, you didn't really learn about Ireland. You didn't really learn about what was happening. And so when you look at a story like Soldier F killing people at what was essentially a civil rights march on Bloody Sunday, this is kind of all news to you.
This is all kind of news to me, but like even from that, from not understanding, there's a clear right and wrong. Nobody should be shot during a civil protest. Nobody should be killed for protesting for freedom of speech.
Yeah.
That is completely wrong. And especially if that person was a soldier, there are rules of engagement that should have been followed.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure on rules of engagement at the time, but from my understanding, it's like if you believe you're in imminent danger, and like usually only after you've been fired upon or something.
Yeah.
But as
there was no, the civil rights march just came. We were inspired by the blacks in America looking for their rights, and in Northern Ireland went, oh, we could do that. We could march for rights because we didn't have rights. There was gerrymandering, so we couldn't vote for our own politicians. We were living in, you know, galvanized houses. A lot of it, like, you know, we were sort of living in slums a little bit. We couldn't get jobs in the shipyards because they were given to the Protestants. They wouldn't give the Catholics jobs. All this kind of stuff. Our language and our sports were illegal. It was illegal to play Gaelic football, and you know, so it was all that stuff that there was an apartheid system, much like Palestine and Israel at the moment. I don't know if you know the song by U2, Sunday Bloody Sunday.
I do not. The only U2 song I know is Joey Ramone.
Okay, right.
That's because like
absolutely most random U2 song anyone has ever mentioned in regards to U2. Would you agree there? Joey Ramone. I'm like, what album was that even on? How to Demolish an Atomic Band?
There was a scandal.
How to Ruin Your Band, I think that album was called. What?
There was a scandal where like Apple like installed it on everybody's phones, like around the world.
That was the album.
That's the how everybody knows that album or song. Yeah.
So U2 wrote a song called Sunday Bloody Sunday, and that was about the events on Bloody Sunday. And I don't know if you've watched Alan Partridge, but there's a great moment Alan Partridge where he's meeting these two Irish writers about a possible, you know, TV show. They happen to be the creators of Father Ted, but let's not get into exactly who they were. And he sits down and he goes, oh, Irish, yeah, I love you too. Sunday Bloody Sunday. I know exactly what they're singing about. You get up, you got to wash the car, you got to cut the grass, you got to, you know, it's just the worst. I mean, like Sunday Bloody Sunday.
Sundays are not great.
Tough crowd. Okay, so that's that. So basically, Oscar, if you could just brush up on your Irish stuff and be more Irish, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Sure, I'll come in next week with the tricolor.
Just come in next week being more Irish. So anyway, so we should say, just to sort of round that up, we had John Finucane there, we had Gemma speaking there as well. She's Goodwill C Unting, CX Unting on TikTok if you want to follow her. She's trying to publish a book at the moment, and she is a regular contributor to Moth News. So thank you very much for that. And we do want to say for the families, it was a devastating day for the families, and our hearts go out to them, and hopefully they will get justice. These people have been trying to get justice for like 40 odd years now, and the bravest people I know. Right, it's time to bring in our news editor, Oscar Virdee. Oscar O. Virdee, we should call him, or Mac Virdee. Which would be more Irish, do you think? We're not. You're as fine as you are. I'm joking. You know I'm joking. You've got two stories on accountability. One about Ireland's rivers, and one about about financial oversight in startups. The stuff we were talking about last week. And I will play. So we had Al on last week. His sound wasn't great.
Yeah.
We fixed up the sound. He sounds real good, and we're going to play that again because I think it was an important conversation. So if you're a little bit lost in what Oscar's talking about, hold on, and Al will talk about it a bit more.
Of course. So the first clip we're going to go, are we going with the first clip we're going to go with is a story about the EPA. Last week, I said that I hadn't managed to get through to anybody from any rivers charity. So I actually did hear back from somebody during the week. I heard back from John Doherty, who is the agricultural community animator for Farming for Water EIP at Enisho and Rivers Trust in Clomani, County Donegal.
County Donegal.
County Donegal.
See?
His work focuses on supporting farmers to reduce pollution through small practical changes, not enforcement. He spoke to us about how education and collaboration are starting to shift behavior across the landscape of Ireland. So my first question to him was, do you think like education works better, or punishment in the form of fines.
Let's hope I hit the right clip.
Do you think Ireland's current startup
No.
ecosystem
Okay.
offers
Longer?
enough support or
Shorter?
accountability?
Is it? Come
I
up
would
with-
say lack of education.
Yes. That's
Okay, do you want to do the lead into that again?
So in this clip, we have John Doherty from the agricultural, who's the agricultural community animator for Farming for Water EIP at Inner Show and Rivers Trust.
Shall I play it now?
Yep.
And just
Apologies.
like I said, once I mentioned the impact that sheep dip can have, like farmers' ears are immediately cropped up, and they know then that, like, to improve their practice around that. I was with a farmer last week, and he said, this is a couple of years ago now. There was a couple of inland fisheries out testing for fish on the river beside his land, and he got chatting to them, and it was them that pointed out the issues of sheep dip, and from that point he has not used the sheep dipping station. He's anytime he used it, he used a mobile dipping station who has better practice and a more manageable situation. So engaging with the farmers, education, enforcement, I'm not really in favour of it, and I think a lot of the other bodies, like the Donegal County Council, are going down that route too, that encouraging, educating. As I say, the carrot is a lot better than the stick to bring about that improvement.
What kind of advice would you give to somebody who lives near a stream or an estuary, like for everyday steps that they can do to try and improve water quality?
So the acres, farming for water, and a lot of these projects are focused on water quality, use a source pathway receptor model for reducing nutrient loss. So every pollutant has a source. So if it's a source issue, for instance, a farmer, or even domestic wastewater, so your septic tank, that could be a source issue. So if there's a source issue there, you have to resolve that. So likes of pollutants off a yard, so put in some feature to stop that, or improve, like say a cracked tank, fix the tank, something simple like that. Then you have your pathway. So especially the likes of phosphate is an overland flow issue. So you have to break that flow somewhere. So we use a lot of the EPA maps, the pollution impact potential maps, for the farming for water. So we can help identify where these issues could possibly be across the landscape. But even to the naked eye, if you go out to on a heavy rainflow event, you'll see where the water's flowing across the ground. You'll see the kind of natural swales across the ground that the water kind of forces through. You should target some feature in that will help slow or hold back the water, and allow any sediment or any nutrient to dissipate and drop down. So the likes of a hedge across a slope, an earthen bund, or tree planting, something like that across the slope of the ground, in those kind of features will help kind of filter the water and help uptake of nutrients. There's a lot of impacts that can develop from farmers planting across slopes and slowing that flow going down the rivers. A metre of hedging can hold back 180 litres of water. So in a heavy rainfall event, it's a lot of water that can be held back in the upland or the further back up the catchments, and then you have less impact on towns downstream, especially if you have overflows from sewage treatment plants.
What kind of keeps you hopeful at the end of the day? And what would you say to somebody who thinks the problem of water waste is too big to fix?
We're all like, there's so many bodies working in that now, that you take Law Pro, Chagas are putting a lot into it. Dairy Industry Ireland, Meat Industry Ireland are all involved with farming for water. You have Acres, who are engaged with the Department of Agriculture. You have NPWS involved. you have so many bodies working there together, and the collaboration of those is developing that a little bit more. Whereas previously the talk between departments didn't develop that much. There's more engagement up at that level now. You have a lot more bodies like ourselves, the Shown Rivers Trust, developing and growing stronger. We're all educating landowners, households. We're all involved in these areas. So I definitely think it's going in the right way. I think we're, education is the big key to that. As long as the word's getting out there, and there's actions, like these are all paid actions for farmers in the farming for water. So, there's no reason farmers can't access these and help improve their own situation.
Anyway.
So sorry, we were just talking about we continue talking about Alan Partridge and Sunday Bloody Sunday. So very interesting what's happening to our rivers, because Ireland, I'm not sure about how it is in the UK, and you grew up in England, but in Ireland we have this reputation of having the best green fields, the best beef, the best dairy produce, the best veg, all this kind of stuff. And then to find out that we're polluting and poisoning our own rivers, and the people who are doing it are the farmers who are producing this best beef, best dairy,
Yes, but I think the key thing there is, as John said, it's like the farmers aren't doing it deliberately. They are doing it from being uneducated on what they're doing.
So what's happening is, as he was saying, as soon as you speak to the farmers, they go, "Oh, okay," and they'll change their.
Yeah, exactly.
Are things changing?
Yeah, things are changing, and there is they're making it accessible to change as well with farming for water. So they are giving the money to farmers in order to put in better sheep dip systems. So you dump your sheep in the river, or advising that, look, you can plant some hedges, and I think it's 1 meter of hedgerow will stop 180 liters of water in the event of heavy rainfall. So simple stuff like just planting more hedges around the rivers, moving feeders away from the river, if it's near that, is definitely going to lead to an increase. And as John said at the end of that clip here, he thinks that we're actually on track to make a better island, to make a better water life. I'd love to say in the UK that we're doing the same.
No,
I haven't seen anything for that. The most I've seen on social media and stuff is that we keep trying to do citizens arrests on Thames Water CEOs and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is not that helpful, but
everything. I mean, it's all sort of trying to highlight a problem. I do know from speaking to friends who live in the south of England, Southern Water have doubled the cost of your water bill in the last few months, but they've done absolutely zero to improve the quality of the water.
Yeah,
what's their role? I'm not asking you really. It's like, what's your role?
What do you do, Southern Water?
What
are
you charging
the money?
I got a phone call from them because I live in the UK, and I got a phone call from them and said, you owe us £600. And I was like, for what? And said, oh, we're charging you for water from now until next year. And I was like, I haven't used that water yet. And they're like, yeah, but that's just how we bill. And I said, no, it's not. No, I said, well, where's the contract? What are you talking about? Don't bother me ever again until you've figured out how to charge me properly for water. What service? Maybe car tax or car insurance. I don't know many services where you're paying, especially water. You're going to pay for the year in advance before you use it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Feck off.
But Southern Water don't make any sense.
Southern Water, feck off. That's what I say. And anyone else who tries to charge me for anything, basically, I just don't pay bills. But everybody else should. It's good to pay bills, It's good to pay your council tax.
Council tax is very expensive.
It's very expensive. That's why I don't pay it. But everybody else should.
You allegedly don't pay it. Anyway, speaking of accountability.
No, I don't pay it.
Okay.
I don't think you're listening to me.
Oh dear. Speaking of accountability.
Their courts aren't real. They just rent out a room in the court. Don't believe anything they say. But you should pay your council tax. Anyway.
Speaking of accountability, last week we spoke a bit about a company called Viv going under.
Yeah.
They they rebranded as Limbo during the time that they were trading.
Yeah.
I spoke to a chartered accountant called Neve Brennan,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to get she's an expert in corporate governance and about where the line sits between bad business judgment and then financial mismanagement in Ireland's startup scene. And so we're going to be playing the clips from that, and then hopefully we're going to get Al on. If we don't get Al on, we're going to be running the clips from last week where Al's audio was interesting.
There you go. A bit more context, I suppose, and why we're playing this clip. Yeah. And we could play this afterwards as well if we have time. So let's have a listen to this. Did she mention council tax, and we get in trouble if you don't pay your council tax?
I did not ask.
Do you think Ireland's current startup ecosystem offers enough support or accountability mechanisms when companies take on large investments, or have you not had much expertise in that area?
I would say that there's probably, for example, a very different attitude in a country like Ireland or and even possibly the UK compared, for example, to the US. I think the US is a lot more forgiving when business fails. There's a better understanding in the US, maybe, that business is risky and that sometimes it fails. Whereas maybe in this part of the world, there's a greater blame game if things don't go well.
Recently, an AI-based weight loss company called Viv, which is currently gone into examinership, even though they say they have a profitable product. One of the things that they've highlighted that wasn't, according to them, a reason for them going under was the fact that they got sued for changing their name from Viv to Limbo, which Abbott, a large pharmaceutical company, sued them for saying it breaches trademark. Would you say that oversight of changing that name would be financial mismanagement?
I wouldn't use the phrase financial mismanagement. I would describe what you're telling me as very poor judgment. And again, this is understood much better in the United States than in this part of the world. But there's a thing called the business judgment rule. And for example, if a director makes an error of judgment, it is a judgment. And you cannot sue a director for an error of judgment. It's called the business judgment rule. So the fact that, for example, a company makes a bad acquisition, that is a question of judgment. It's not necessarily negligence, but you'd have to get into the detail of the transaction to be fully certain that it was solely down to an error of judgment rather than actual mismanagement.
Interesting. So, I mean, like, does that add to the conversation?
It does add to the conversation because it shows that in the US, at least, there is like a better atmosphere for startups to start. I think will be quite helpful is like next week when we get Al back in, he can speak to his experiences of the startup culture in Ireland and the US.
Yeah.
What I did take quite interestingly is that she says there's not as much blame in the US. So I think that with less blame, maybe more people are happy to speak about startups. Maybe more people are happy to start the conversation about what actually went wrong in a case where a company who's got a really valuable product suddenly goes under and that IP is just lost.
Right. Okay. So what you're saying is there's more to come on that.
There's more to come. I think this is going to be an evolving story over the next couple of weeks, if not months, as we just get different legal experts in and then get their opinions, and then we'll present those to you as unbiasedly as we can.
As unbiasedly as we can. Sometimes I'm biased.
Fair enough.
I'm not going to promise to be unbiased.
Yeah.
So anyway, so to give a bit of context, this is what Al spoke about last week, and I thought we have spoken a lot about this, but I thought this was the most succinct, because it's so complex. I'm sure you'll agree. But as the time goes on, we're going, okay, now we know what it is. Now we're just sort of now we're able to focus in on exactly what it is. So if you're wondering what we're talking about, watch Al. Hopefully this will explain everything.
Differential is that people they're coming and taking the tech out of the country. They're not helping. They've kept the pillage part very well. Yeah, and there's a few companies coming out as fast as Europe, right? So we spoke to Slenderstone 3 weeks ago, right? We were speaking to another company called Viv, which is Limbo.
Viv Limbo, yeah.
And there's another company that we probably won't speak to today because there's, I know there's stuff kicking off with this one and probably have more information on that and get more informed on us.
Yeah, I actually spoke to that man there during the week briefly, so we'll bring you more news on that. And I think for Al, you might agree with me here. I think we're getting somewhere with this in that we're starting to we've always joined the dots, but what we're getting is we're getting to speak to people who this is happening to in the moment. And I know you guys, yourself and Niamh, are interested in helping these people with how they're going to, how they're going to fight this, because it's a big financial commitment. We know that it's difficult in Ireland for the smaller guy to bring a legal case against people with a lot of money. We've spoken about it before, and those laws don't look like they're changing because the Minister for Finance is, for some reason, not in favour of letting the smaller guy sue the bigger guy. Another something else rotten in the state of Ireland. But it looks like, Al, we're getting people, making people who are in your situation when you were pretty much on your own. It happened to you. You were blindsided. You didn't know that this was a thing, and now it's become a thing. It's become a playbook. There's a lot more happening, but we're able to get to these founders as it's happening and say, "This is what's happening to you." I was able to have that conversation with them, with this guy, and say, "Look, I'm going to tell you what's happening to you without you just listen and agree with me." And so I was able to tell him what was happening. He was like, "Oh, okay." And he was like, but he had some awareness of it. But I think we're getting somewhere with this.
Yeah. And you have an awareness, but you kind of got this natural survival instinct to fool yourself. It's kind of like the mind tricks yourself that there's no way that it can be this bad, right? And then you're into that wormhole. I'll tell you, it's three kind of things that what happened just this week, which is unusual. You end up there's I can't disclose our source or our sources, and there are many of. So I'll speak to the outcome and then just allude to the fact that it is somebody within government looking at this, investigating this. There is a number of people that have started to put the pattern together, that this is like, it can't be just like we're failing as entrepreneurs and Irish businesses so frequently. And I use it, the person reached out to me and said, "Look, we're starting to see a pattern where the company heads into difficulty and then a process is used to get the company the technology or intellectual property or the value of that business out the other side." So during the conversation, even themselves, even though they were aware of it, as you just spoke to, still couldn't get their head around, is this really intentional? Is everybody in this process aware? And I said, I'll just give you a very simple example. So, Keith, if you and I set up a business today and we start with 50-50, I said, okay, let's start, let's say, heavy intellectual property media company, right? Okay. We went to business together, all is well, we're in good faith together, we're driving the business. Business starts growing. Okay. One is an investor, one is essentially the person that brings, all of the sweat equity, has the knowledge, has the domain knowledge, is building the business, bringing all that intellectual currency, which is stuff that you can't put a price on. It's in person's mind, it's experience, it's knowledge, it's the connections, do you know what I mean? It's all what this is, the intangibles, but they're actually the tangibles.
Yeah, so I'm coming to well, I have money, but I have no knowledge of this industry and I have no knowledge of this tech. And you're going, well, I don't have money, but I have all the knowledge.
Yeah, or you might have a bit of knowledge, right? And that's why you got it in the first place. So you continue down the track, and then one person says, "Okay, look, I know another guy. We need more money. Let's put them." Right? Everybody's tipping along, and then we hit a wrinkle. There's an issue. Crap. Supplier didn't pay us. Creditor issues. Whatever. Macroeconomic issues. Clients never pay on time. Or client doesn't sign up quickly. Your aspirational project plan or business plan never goes to plan, right? It takes longer to raise funding. Sit down, crisis talk, right, we're in trouble. Actor A is trying to save the business, has been working on the business, and has been following your plan, right? And generally that plan has been constructed by everybody around the table at the same time. So I'll give you an example. Speaking to my own example, we were to be high profile, to be an AI unicorn, to show that we're a really cool company, that it's an aspirational entrepreneur. mission, which is it had to go loud, big bang, that's it. Right? And had to be all about people. That's it. Everybody signed up to that. Right? So then it's very easy then for somebody to say, right, listen, I want this company. I have money. Right? I'm in a position to bail it out, but I'm not. I'm going to sit back. So your business partner sits back, lets the business go into crisis. Article after articles, you've got Charlie Taylor, Tom Lyons, Ian Curran, all teed up. They'll all start writing crappy things. Then you just get into a worse situation. Then rock in the insolvency practitioners that are known for going after directors. John Healy is one of them, known for restricted directors. He's anti-entrepreneurial. He's anti-progress, anti-commercialization. What happens then? Founders crack. They're offered a deal, and the deal is, let's get into an insolvency process. And everybody thinks they're entering into a fair process where you're going to get the company out under some restructure on their end, right? Okay. You enter into that, which I know some of these guys have thought they're entering into a fair process. You go into that process, you're out of money because you're being supported the business. They have been set back for money. You're entering into a process where you can't get support because in Ireland we have a legislation issue, which is you cannot get external support for your legal case, right? That's one. So I'll break it down in terms of funds, right? So straight away, no, you're up against it in terms of the financial impact it's going to have on you to not be able to compete, right? Okay. So now if we just take all that hypothetical situation, add in like, this is everybody's problem because in that process you've got Enterprise Ireland money, you've state money, you've employees, you've intellectual property that was built in the country, you've got, the reputation of companies failing in Ireland, right? Which makes all that situation. Now that's the anecdotal stuff, right? Let's get into the more sinister stuff. You and I are in business together. We got into difficulty. I had money to save it. I didn't bother. I sandbagged that money. But how is it then when the company's in a process and coming out to the side? I suddenly then have enough income to buy the business out of that process, which was shit from everybody's viewpoint, including the media. However, that same shit business, I know, and I'm in the financial situation to bring that out, restructure it, and carry on and run the exact business plan that everybody had agreed to in the first place. And now the business is gone. And everybody's like, well, that was another failure. Geez, that founder is shit, isn't he? And then, or she. I was like, wait a second. You're all in business together, and the very people that said the business was great at the start decided, made a conscious decision, cognitively to wait until the business was at a reduced valuation on its needs to then come in and buy it out of the restructure. Huh? And it gets worse from there because not only is that the process, then what you have is all that money, the money that was needed to save the business now has gone. Insolvency practitioner fees, legal fees, high court battles, suing the directors, paying out WRC claims. All the shareholders are wiped out, including the government that in fairness, is trying to help to stimulate business, right? They are investing in businesses and they're trying to do that. And I keep saying this, I don't want to brandish the Enterprise Ireland that one brush, because there is some really decent people in there that really want to help the country. Like they really want to see Irish economy do well. They want to see the best part. And they're up against the type because there's somebody in there, don't know where or who, that is, sitting back and allowing this happen. And look, it's at a policy level, right? Now, if you stick a pin in that and say, right, let's take that as one shitty situation where you're not entering into a fair process at all. It's not unintentional. It's not benign. And the only reason you'll end up in a restructure process is somebody sees value in the business. And it's generally the people inside the company that see the value. And this is the process of it. That's it. Like, it's not fucking illogical. It's logical. If you just look at it, it's logical. Yeah. If you explain it in that way, right? I've 1 bean, you've 2 beans. It takes 3 beans to save the company, or 4. We bring in somebody else to put in the 4, but they're going to wait with that money until you're fucked. Yeah. That's it? No. Take the paradox to that into any other jurisdiction, right? Let's say the US, UK, other parts of the world, right? Where a restructuring process is a restructuring process to get the business to save the business. Right? It's not to screw the directors. It's not to screw the employees. And the reason shareholders will behave themselves and you just spoke to earlier about our minister, is if I'm in deep shit, and I'm going to speak to my experience, Kate, I had at least 3 people, if not 4, that were interested in financing our legal battle to save our company, save our technology. And they could not, because the legislation doesn't allow you to bring what's called, some people call it the Hail Mary investment, where they finance the deal because there's some really decent people out there that hate seeing that screw up. And in Ireland, you have to fund the deal. So let's get this very clear. You're insolvent. We tried to rest the same business. There's a very academic clause, which is you should not be, if you're insolvent, your director's duty is to shut down the business as soon as possible because it's considered, your trading rights. Okay. So every business in the land is totally solvent and has money all the time, is never getting any difficulty. So every business would shut down the minute they're in pressure. So I want to challenge them now. Give me the statistics on every business in the country, in any country in the world that doesn't get a financial situation at some stage and needs help. Should every business all shut down? Is that what they're saying academically? And do not fucking try. Do not try in Ireland. Because if you fail, they will absolutely blow you off something else. Failure is not an option here.
Yeah, we don't like failure. It's surrounded by. I mean,
we don't like success because you're begrudged, and they don't like failure.
Yeah,
it's facts, right? So,
but in this instance, it's almost like it's legacy attitude towards success and failure in Ireland is almost being used against us because there's a shame in it. There's a shame in speaking out. There's a shame in, like, we look at the whistleblowers.
But he just isolate Viv and Limbo for a second, right? Yeah. So Pat Phelan is seen as the pinnacle guy in Cork, as a tech entrepreneur, and
he's the poster boy. He's the poster boy for
And Charlotte Taylor said, "Oh, it's his first failure in 5 years." So he's supposed to have money to be able to say, why can he not save the business if the business is that valuable? That somebody else is going to buy that technology or take that company forward in the restructuring process.
Why is Pat Phelan choosing not to dig deeper, get more investors? What?
Well, he's a history of it. He's got a history of it. He did the same in Senoptica. They went in, the rescue package didn't work, and the same tech was taken out the other side, and now it's very successful.
And who took the tech? Why? How would Pat Phelan?
Finucane Health Beacon. It's always somebody that's involved in the restructuring. That's it. So it's like, guys, wake up. In Ireland, the fiduciary duty and the responsibility of saving the company is on the directors and the directors solely. When most of the time, including myself, and it's actually it's quite vulnerable to admit this, right? At the end, I didn't even have control of the it. Like, I was the CEO, like, I know me have jumped in to help this CEO, but I was the CEO, I was the authority, I was the decision maker. I made the shitty decisions. I stand over that.
Yeah.
And at the end, I didn't even have voting before of the company. It was the shareholders.
Yeah, because what
shareholders had the black and whites.
What they're doing is at every point where it's squeaky bum time and you need to raise more money, and they go, okay, we will give you more money, but we need more share. Like, you get less and less control as time goes on, and you're doing it every time in the moment, going, well, this is it now. This is we've reached the basement here. We've reached the floor here. It's not going to get any worse than this. Then it does get worse, and you are sacrificing your control over the company, your tech, your business plan, your invention. You're sacrificing yourself and everything that you've built and created.
Not only that,
to save the staff.
Not only that, they're ramping the business up to get you below the control character.
Yeah.
Right? And then the very actors that are in that process end up with the tech or the company on the other side. And because there's such a shitstorm created around you, your credibility is done. So they're just skipping off into the sunset. But if you just take all the way and say, all is fair and looking more, it's the Shark Tank, you put yourself into a position you can't expect to not get abused of yourself out there. But if you just break it down into, okay, on a simplistic level, why as a country and how is it that Ireland does not have protection for companies against their own shareholders? It's the first thing. That's the point. So let's just remove everything else. How is it that a company is so fucked. But yes, it's usually a million, couple of million. We're only 5 million, right? There's lots of bullshit media out there. We're only 5 million in working creditors, and we were heading to close 100 million round at a billion valuation.
Yeah,
That's
so
a
it's not,
fact.
the sums did not add up.
That's a fact. And we had the 260 million external independent valuation done a couple of months before. That's a fact. So even at its height, and that tech got off to about 4 million keys, right? In a fucking receipt. But let's just take it as height and say, right, practitioner, I speak to my case. The fees was commented on in high court. They were nearly 700,000 euros. 650, I think is the exact. 650,000 euros were going to the receiver. 250 to 300,000 euros is going to the liquidator. And we have to pay hundreds of thousands to defend it also, and still are doing so. Now just take that in with top. Right?
You take
And
how
then
much,
you've got-
much the tech was sold for 2.5 million. Then you take the other 2 million for the receiver.
the employees and all that. And so the whole deal is up 6 million.
We're nearly at your 5 million.
Well, it's close to 6 million because
Right.
pay all the toothpaste that we made sure all the employees were paid, all the fences were paid, everybody, like all of the employees got paid at the end of the process. And then even people continued on and kept their jobs. Nobody spoke about that, right? And the creditors, if that company was sold at the figure that it was supposed to be sold and they received deposits, all of our creditors would have been paid 100%. And the company would have been solvent again because there was a surplus of cash. Even after all that shite, until the liquidator came in and fucked the whole thing, right? Okay? But the other insolvency practitioner allowed them to do it. And also the revenue guys allowed them to do it. And they lost out. But even if you take that apart and say, hang on a second, but the contra to that is if the business continued on and the guys actually helped it, the business would have still got back to that valuation. And then everybody, including the shareholders, which were the Irish government, the Infos Ireland, and others, Elmstone, would have made money from the outfit. That's a fact.
So is the reason, so then why does it make sense? I mean, why would they do this? Is it short-term gain? Is it like a lack of insight? Is it just, no, these few individuals want to make a share of this 2.5 million or the sale of the
It's fucking greed. It's fucking greed, man.
It's just greed.
It's just greed. It's just like, and we've encouraged it because, like, we've created an insolvency practice that enables this behavior. And I've spoken to this guy who's working with the government. It's off the record. I can't say it is. And I said to him, just follow the data, look at it, and say, right, okay, now the catastrophic impact for us is somebody on the outside looking in says, like, gee, Ireland's companies are failing at nothing. Nothing like
that. Yeah.
Or the other side, the sinister side is you've got guys out there like, invest in the Irish company, man. It's fucking so easy to get your money back out at a higher multiple because all you have to do is crash it, get the company great, then it's shit, take whatever you need that is good, trim your responsibilities. Remember, all they do is trimming their responsibilities. We had 161 people employed in our company when it went into receivership. Right? Okay. Some were contractors, so I think it was 97 were full-time employees for when we had some contractors. Okay. But if you took it at its height, break that down, and transfer that into the other companies that this is going through, which is Viv, Limbo, Slenderton, the guy that you spoke to during the week that we'll eventually speak more to, then there's another solar company, right? Okay. But if you look down and say, right, step back for a second, what actually is happening here? The Irish jobs are lost. The Irish company is lost. Our reputation has been impacted as
the investment by taxpayers' money by Enterprise Ireland is gone, and we don't need, like, Enterprise Ireland they don't do audits. They don't tell us what happened to the money, like what it was used on. We don't, like, almost like our money is being gambled with. Like, there's no oversight there, and Enterprise Ireland don't seem to have any teeth or oversight, or they're like many other Irish agencies. They can't actually go in and do anything.
They don't even have a remedy or an instrument to protect their own investment when a company is heading into this. I spoke to that man during the week, and he said that it was said to him that by Enterprise Ireland, if you have all this noise, first thing he's going to say, sort it out between yourselves. Right? If you cannot sort it out between yourselves, shut down. The final point in that is, and I'm gonna stick a pin in this, right? Okay, if everything I'm saying is bullshit and people are cynical, what I'm saying is true. How is it that the vast majority of companies that are creating value in Ireland and that end up in an insolvency process end up coming out the other side in a restructured company? If the company was shit, it would close down and fail. Done. If you went to the US and you hit Chapter 11, it's because the company has failed, there's no hope of survival, it's liquidated, shut down, and everybody moves on and say, right, okay, well, that didn't fucking work. Right?
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah, and I'm sure it does happen. I'm sure, but what we're seeing is time and time again, Sunday Business Post, the headline, oh, American company saves beleaguered Irish startup who went into liquidation there, and they're buying them for 10 million. And this is in the front of, this is on the currency. This is the Sunday Business Post. Like, this is an amazing story.
But imagine Charlie Taylor's headline is, this guy, Liam Casey, went into Senoptica, did all this process. He was the biggest creditor, pushed it into insolvency, came out the other side, and the revenue investigated. I wouldn't bet against Liam Casey.
Yeah.
This is fucking Charlie Taylor. And this is supposed to be an independent media journalist.
Oh yeah, it doesn't exist. And then we've got this as well, which so this story, Ireland's economy would lose up to 3.6 billion. This is also in the Sunday Business Post. 3.6 billion a year if collective legal actions and the use of third-party litigation funding (TPLF) are permitted in Ireland. A study has found. The report commissioned by the European Justice Forum says Ireland is at a particular risk. So basically, to allow third-party legal funding, which is what you were talking about earlier, which is basically people that want to come in and they go to someone like yourself and they go, look, we have money. We want to help you with this. We want to help you fight this. For some reason, there isn't an appetite to allow this to happen. The appetite is to protect the golden circle, the people with the money.
Keith, it's not only that, it's not only the appetite, dude. It's there's people external to Ireland, in the UK, in the US, and other places in Europe, that would happily put up 2 to 3 million euros to help you defend the girls. Not allowed. That's a fact, right? It's a fact.
Right.
And so on a commercial level, if this guy gets out of his own way, there'll not only be a fucking stampede in Ireland, you won't even be able to stop these companies setting up here because they see such an opportunity.
So look, the sound of that, let me just stop that playing there. I hope everybody could hear it. So the sound of that wasn't great, so I'm going to stop that, but we can talk a little bit about that. So I need my microphone as well. This is going really well today, isn't it? So let's talk a little bit about exactly what he's saying there. You, Oscar, have an amazing product, and I'm investing in it. I come in as a shareholder, right? I'm on the board. I withhold money when you're looking for the next bit of cash that I'm supposed to pony up. I withhold that, and then it affects either other investors getting involved, or it just, you don't have the money to pay the wages. So then suddenly you become insolvent. But the money I've withheld, I use that money then to buy the tech once the company is folded, and then the tech is available, and I buy that or I sell it on to another company, and that's happening again and again and again. If we look at the case of Viv, who you were speaking about.
Yep.
It's the same situation.
It's the same situation, and it's really to me, it looks like unethical practice.
Yeah. It's not illegal. We should say that.
Yeah.
But it's unethical, and what we're saying is this has to be stopped. This is sharp practice. Although it's legal and it's not sharp practice. Morally, it's wrong. and we're not ultimately, as a country, encouraging startups. We're not encouraging these intelligent young people who are coming out of our universities, who are coming out of our technical colleges, who are coming out of education in Ireland, well-educated, clever people, coming up with these. A lot of it is tech, AI, whatever. They're coming up with these products, and we're not encouraging them to thrive. And if we encourage them to thrive, they would stay in Ireland. They would set up the company like Al did with his company, Altada. They were set up in Cork. They were employing 40 people, 40 intelligent, well-educated, well-paid people down in Cork, spending their money in the community, living in the community, buying houses in the community. Really, really good for the economy. So we're stopping Ireland becoming free from needing the likes of Apple, Facebook, etc., LinkedIn, from basing themselves in Dublin for tax purposes. So when we do that, we don't get the tax, and the money doesn't necessarily stay in Ireland. So this needs to stop.
Yes, it needs to stop, and there needs to be better investment into Irish startups, and there needs to be better protections for Irish startups.
Yeah,
is our understanding at this time.
So the other company we talked about was Senoptica. Well, I don't know if we've spoken about it privately. So there's a company called Senoptica Technologies. So this is a case study in how Ireland treats its startups. This is a Trinity spin-out called Senoptica Technologies. They developed smart packaging that can detect spoiled food, which is amazing, yeah?
Yeah.
Who
definitely.
doesn't want, like, packaging that tells you if the food is spoiled?
I mean, it would really cut down on waste. It really like help people out. Like,
Amazing
Yeah.
piece of technology. This company, Senoptica, should be allowed to flourish in Ireland, and become a world leader, because God knows what else they're going to do, with the money as they develop. And they've probably got other ideas, but they developed the smart packaging that can detect spoiled food, secured FDA approval in the US. Like this, that means it's worth billions. They had investors, a working product, and a 2.25 million deal lined up with a climate-focused VC, right? And then it all collapsed. There are people saying that the investors blocked a funding round, creating what was called a strategic funding crisis that led straight to examinership. The court has since appointed an interim examiner, which could be seen by some as a cynical attempt to wrest control of the company. And now we're looking at this technology, which is amazing. And we did it. An Irish person did it. An Irish company developed this technology. It's worth billions. I mean, even a layman, even an idiot like me can see that's worth billions. This is going to be taken out of the country, used elsewhere. And we are not going to feel the economic benefit of our investment into this person who developed this technology, having gone to school and university in Ireland.
Yeah, and I think the key thing there as well is like when the companies are going into examinership is meant to be used for the business to stay alive, not for control to be wrestled from the guy who's invented the business and invented the product. That's like, examinership is meant to keep the business afloat. Creating a forced crisis in order to take over a company is not the purpose there of what's like the rule set up, to my understanding at least.
Yeah.
But we're having people, it seems like people are abusing like legal power structures in order to take control of IP of profitable companies that have been developed in Ireland, like Altada, like Senoptica, like Health Beacon, like various other companies, and then just taking all of this IP and then taking it away to a larger firm, which is not the intended use of examinership.
Yeah. And then we have to look at Enterprise Ireland's role, right? So Enterprise Ireland are set up to support startups. So they will come to you, a startup, and they'll give you 500,000, 1 million to develop to get to the next phase. Now, this 1 million, 500,000, 1.5 million, whatever it is taxpayers' money. So it's your money that we're investing. So we have invested in these companies, but we have no oversight. Where's that money gone? There's no, Enterprise Ireland don't do follow-up reports on where the money's gone. There's no transparency. And when we talk to Enterprise Ireland about this, I mean, generally they don't reply to our emails, But when we talk to people who have dealt with Enterprise Ireland, they will say that Enterprise Ireland say, oh, if you've got a disagreement with your shareholders, that's between you guys. We've got nothing to do with that. But we should have everything to do with that, because that's our money. That's the taxpayers' money that's going into investing, as we did when we, because you can go to university in Ireland, it's not going to cost you a lot of money. Like, we invest in people. It's not expensive to go to university in Ireland. So we invest in these people, and then we invest in their companies, and then we allow these stakeholders to come in, collapse the company, and take the technology away from us, the taxpayers. Me. I was going to say me and you, but not you.
No, not me. But I agree, the practice is still wrong. And if you like want to dial into a specific case, if you look at Health Beacon, which I believe Keith has covered much more in depth than I have, but like even just a cursory research shows you that at one point these companies' IP was valued at 98 million euros, and then within 24 months it depreciated to be sold off for like 6.5 million euros over 24 months, which is kind of unheard of, I believe. Like,
doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense as to how that then the IP was then bought. What would be interesting to see is
why is somebody spending $6.6 million on this thing that failed in Ireland?
Yeah,
there's an American company. They're saving it, and you'll see it. You'll see. I don't know if I've sent you the articles, but you'll see the articles in the Currency and the Sunday Business Post saying, "Oh, American company saves Health Beacon with 6.6 million investment." You're going, well, it didn't need saving.
Yeah, there's just no, like, when you're looking at the reporting as well, so in journalism we get taught to like issue duality, like basically give an issue to competing sides. The two competing sides isn't there. It's just, this American company is great, they're coming in and saving everything. There needs to be the other side of, we have a business that's collapsed, what went wrong, why does it need saving, who's doing the saving, why are they doing the saving? There's no questions being asked. It's a lot more of, let's go because this is great, and like Irish businesses obviously can't survive, is the thing that seems to be coming out in mainstream media.
Yeah. So that chat I had with Al is available. The sound will be better. I'm going to put it out separately, so keep an eye on MOTH News wherever you watch MOTH News. That's it really from us. Usually we do a thing at the, what do we do at the end, Oscar?
Normally we do. It's a always look on.
We normally sing that. But what about the and finally? The people's and finally.
Oh, yeah. So the people's and finally this week is going to be a special thing from Keith. So here we go.
Well, because it's election day and because Ireland is going to be going to the polls, I thought we'd play some Irish music, some music to get us energized and patriotic and
get ready for that Friday feeling.
Get out there and vote and use your vote, whether you spoil the vote or whether you use your vote or whether you vote for your favorite or whether you don't know what you're doing. If you just turn up and you speak to your neighbor, just get out there and get involved in the country. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
It's going to be great, guys. Go vote.
It's going to be great. So we leave you with this from the Mary Wallopers. Have you ever seen these guys?
No, the only Irish music I've heard is Flogging Molly.
Flogging Molly,
I
right?
think.
Yeah. And where are they from? America.
There's nothing in the press, there's nothing on the telly. I feel a bit sick cause there's nothing in my belly. Letter through the letterbox, posters on the pole. The country being ran by greedy wee trolls. 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy. It's the shit, I'm the fly. 3 for you, 4 for me. Are you sure the best things in life are free? The landlord's a tramp, he's looking for his money and the place full of damp. We're always in the pub now, that's the way to be. They have central heating and the pints are free. 5 for pleasure, 6 for pain. We're up to our same old tricks again. 7 for heaven, 8 for hell. The juice of the barley put me under a spell. we never get bed. Paddy sing the ballads to make the people free. Streets of Seatown sing to me. 9 for what? I want 10. Again and again and again and again. Dance to your daddy and rosin the bow. This is Irish rock and roll.